Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Chris Cloud. Chris serves as the Senior Director of Brand and Engagement for the Wonder Museum, with locations in Chicago, San Diego, and since February in Boston at 500 Washington Street near Downtown Crossing. These one-of-a-kind museums combine art and technology to create unique and engaging multi-sensory experiences. During the program, we're learning why and how the Wonder Museum came about and how it's grown, developed, and operates today. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour of the Boston location, and in the process, come to better understand and appreciate the wide range of artists, installations, interactive experiences, and other opportunities that are available for visitors today. Let's start by meeting Chris and then hearing all about the Wonder Museum. Welcome, Chris. So delighted to be able to be here.
Thank you, Jay, for having me.
Last week I had the wonderful opportunity to visit the museum, had a terrific time, a unique experience, eager to hear more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest to hear a little bit more about your background, professional interest, what your current position entails, please.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Cloud. I'm the Senior Director of Brand and Engagement at Wonder Museum. I actually started on the first day of our grand opening party, which is Leap Day of this year. So been to Boston a few times this year, love the city and happy to be here. My background takes me on a wide journey. I'll see if I can summarize it within a minute or two, because usually it's like a 20-minute talk. But I'm from Minnesota. My background is deep in marketing. When I was in high school, there was a marketing program available, so I took marketing class and sports entertainment marketing and sales, and I knew that business was my passion. And so, after college, I ended up working in some ad agencies, which led me to sort of be very inspired to be what can I do myself? I wondered, right? What can I do? So we started our own online television network or media network, and we had a blog, and we had 300 videos that we produced, and then we did an online magazine, and then I started throwing dance parties, and I put together a pizza camp, and that all led me to the Walker Art Center, which is the Minneapolis version of ICA Boston. It's like the Contemporary Art Museum in Minneapolis, like the jewel of the Midwest. And so started there doing social media, and then fell in love with being the hype person for our organization. So from there, I went to a place called Meowville, which is another sort of immersive art experience based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was the director of marketing, content, and creative there for a couple of years. Then I went back into the fine art world, and I was the director of marketing and communications at the Museum of Contemporary Art San Diego. Then I was the director of marketing at the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago, and then found my way to Wonder, and so I've always been aware of Wonder since its existence, and was very excited to kind of join the company and join the brand at the point that I did, which I will be happy to share more. And so my current role, what my current role entails is really being the hype person for all of our 3 locations, the Wonder brand as a whole, our programming, our initiatives. So we really want to think about, we see ourselves serving kind of 2 purposes, right? One, possibly, being one of the must-visit destinations each of our cities. So obviously in Boston, you have Boston Common, the Freedom Trail, MFA. We want Wonder to be in that sort of conversation as well. At the same time, our local communities are very important to us. And so we want to be a cultural hub of downtown Boston, but also Boston and the Northeast as a whole. We want to be this regional kind of cultural hub in which you might come to Wonder. There might be a sushi class one night, a dance party the other night, and immersive yoga the other night. And I will say, all those things are things that we've done so far this year, or we're planning to do. So it's sort of ultimately we want our guests to be left wondering what's next.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, could you step back just a bit and share why and how Wonder first came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wonder was originated in 2018, sort of, based on these selfie museums that were popping up around the same time.
Mhm.
So there was a company called Happy Place, another one called 29 Rooms. And so these things would pass through Chicago, where Wonder is based and where originally opened. And so the founder, Brad Keywell, was like, whoa, 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 Chicago needs one of our own. We don't need some people passing through our town. There's a lot of culture in the city that we live in. Let's actually have a space for that to be shown. So originally opened up as an art and science pop-up that had these backdrops, but there was always this learning element. In a way, we do consider ourselves a museum, but we're also more than a museum.
Yeah.
And so I think Central Origin, we've always sort of challenged what it means to be a museum. How do we better serve our publics? And so back then we were doing artist residencies and we had this like maximal build out here. And so within the first 5 months, we welcomed over 100,000 people. And so we were like, well,
Wow.
the demand is here. We need to keep this around permanently. So in February 2019, we announced that we're staying open permanently. And a year later, we were all affected by the pandemic, so we closed down as well too. In 2021, we opened up gradually, back open. And then in 2022, we announced our ambitions to expand. And so that included a location in San Diego, location in Boston. And so then over the next couple of years, we started opening up those locations. So we opened up San Diego first, and then we, finally opened Boston in February 2024. And I will say, the excitement that we have in the Boston community and Massachusetts as a whole, and even the Northeast as a whole, is so we're so thrilled by the thousands of people who come through our doors in the past 10 months. It's been beyond expectations. And so we're super excited to keep evolving the experience there, adding new elements. But part of also the reason why Wonder was started, going back to the origins, is because our founder, sees like the school of wonder, right? So he tells the story about how back when he was 7 years old, he mailed a letter to the head coach of the Michigan football team. And, years later, he gets the response back that it was found in a drawer, right? And like that moment really inspired him because he wondered, like, is this possible? Could I get this, autographed, football picture back? And so he did, but I think he's always in a way, and as a company, right, we're always wondering, like, is it possible? Could we do this? We also look at, we look at the, culture, we look at communities, and we see where it's missing, what's missing. So that's why, going back to our origins, even to 2024 and 2025, we want to be that cultural hub that I think, to be frank with you, and having worked in museums, and as you know, right, on this segment, museums all are all facing these challenges, fundraising, staffing, lots of complex, repatriation of collections is a thing that a lot of museums are dealing with. So I think that while there might be some barriers that exist in a traditional museum format, we don't necessarily have those barriers, and so we want to be the place that brings a Kasama to Boston that stays up for longer than a few months. So that's sort of a little bit of background about Wonder, and we can't wait to talk more about our exhibit.
Yeah, I think that's the direction we're noticing. Say, even with local libraries, they've become all encompassing for the community. And now museums, and Wonder is perfect example of not only having these wonderful features like exhibit installations featuring well-known artists, but creating the type of experiences that you were talking about in addition, and to making it a gathering space, entertainment, education, much more than we traditionally think of or thought of, for sure, museums one time. And with all the wonderful opportunities, as we're going to hear now, that Wonder has to offer, can see you're sort of ahead of the game with making that the centerpiece of those type of community citywide experiences. So why don't we take a step inside. But before we do, could you give viewers, those who haven't had the opportunity to visit yet, maybe just an overview, and then we'll look at a number of the installations of what they can look forward to and maybe some of the thinking that went into curating the way it is?
Yeah, so at Wonder, our mission, is that we believe in the power of wonder to bring people together and expand their sense of possibility. So overall, Wonder is a playful journey through immersive interactive experiences. And we sort of exist in our communities to catalyze connections, to open minds, and inspire joy. So a lot of that is thinking about the transformative power of wonder and how as kids, when we're 7 years old, 8 years old, 4 years old, we kind of had this unbridled awe and wonder and curiosity, right? You're kind of figuring out like, what happens if I do this? I'm wondering about that. You're asking questions, right? So I think that as we mature and get older, I think a lot of us sort of lose that childlike sense of wonder. And so for us, we want our experience to be sort of this playful, sort of imaginative experience. And so, in short, wonder is a playground for the mind, right? And so, as you enter into the Boston exhibit, people are immediately sort of hit with these bright colors. There's a table, right, when you kind of get into the space that allows each day there's a different prompt on it that we want people to doodle, draw, to use their imagination. And that is almost like our palette cleanser in a way, right? For people to kind of enter the rest of the experience, right? You're dropping your kind of guards for a little bit, you're coloring. You don't even have to follow the prompt, it's just sort of like getting you out of that comfort zone, right? And challenging you a little bit. And so then you enter into a light floor hallway, which is sort of like this transformative element that, lights up. We'll look at a picture of it later. And then you're sort of encountered by this piece that we're seeing now called Flex, right? So it looks like a colorful piece of fabric, but then you actually realize that you can touch it. And I think this is a big sort of threshold for people, right?
Yeah.
Because in a typical museum, you can't touch the art. You can't even get close to the art. If you get close to art, you get kind of yelled at by a security guard. And I know because I worked at 3 different art museums, right? So I think in this scenario, people are sort of like, what? I can actually touch the art. I can actually I can actually be playful. I can actually be curious. I can actually explore. So again, this first kind of artwork or installation that people encounter is sort of intentionally put there to sort of like show people that, hey, you can be playful here. You can be interactive here.
That was definitely my reaction when I came in touch with it, so to speak, and knew what to sort of look forward to, but had my mind open well beyond this as I continued the journey. And I guess, why don't we move on? And
Mhm.
this is another highlight, I think, of the whole experience, Inside Out. Just a little bit about this installation, perhaps the artist and what you can look forward to, which again, with all these images, doesn't give viewers full justice of what they can experience. Really have to be there in person, but just a little commentary about Inside Out, please.
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Where it's you kind of have to be there to actually fully experience it, right? Like this picture that people can see on the screen right now does not do this installation justice. So this is a piece called Inside Out, which is by a studio called Flora and Fauna Visions. They're artist based who grew up in Glasgow, right? So this is a 360-degree light, video, and sound installation that's intended to both capture and encourage you to be present in a moment of time. So through the storms, so what happens is that guests will enter the shed, they'll pull a little drawstring, and then all of a sudden you start to hear the pitter patter of rain, and you're
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Like what's happening? And then you start to it starts to become more ferocious over time, and the storms become like this tornado and comes this light show. And this was all inspired directly from the artist's experience, right? It's meant to spark this nostalgia for our guests who participated in it. And I will say, growing up in the Midwest in the middle of Tornado Alley,
Mhm.
I felt like I was back home in Minnesota. And so the structure is this garden shed. And I think your experience differs, right, from whether you're inside of it or outside, which is sort of why the piece is called Inside Out. It's not, it's not necessarily the intention of the piece, but it's also types this idea of like surveillance. So when you're sitting inside, you really can't see the people who are outside and vice
Right.
versa. Well, however, but when you're observing from outside, you can seriously see people on the inside. So it's this weird sort of like, am I inside this experience, my outside experience? So it's both the represent nostalgia, but also almost thinking about, I mean, you can see here from this image shown, right? People are outside looking in, and when you're inside, you're really focused on the storm itself. So it's a very deep piece. Like a lot of our installations at Wonder, they have multiple meetings, right? And I think that's the thing too. Like with art as a whole, is I think that for each installation, our guests have different reactions. They have different emotional, emotions tied to the installation. And so that's where I think our exhibit is so powerful, is that it truly is different for every person who goes through it. You might go through it, Jay, and sit inside. I might go through it and stand outside. So it's one of our anchor installations along with the Yo-Yo Kusama, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, no, I had a wonderful opportunity to do both, waiting for guests who were there, and just can see in these just two installations that we've seen so far of 20 plus that are available, just the wide range of experiences. These two just touch the tip of what's to see at the location on Washington Street. This was an amazing one. Had no idea what to expect. Iris was just fabulous. Talk about sort of interactive, personal. Doesn't get any more than this. Just for the sake of time, because we'd like to see as many as we can. A quick word,
Mhm.
Chris, please, about Iris.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people know that all fingerprints are different, but people don't realize that all irises are different. So what Iris does is celebrates the individuality of our guests by taking a close-up photo of their eye and then presenting it on a wall amongst other eyes. So I think that in a way, it's almost like a personal experience, as you were saying, but also realizing that you're a part of this, you have your own identity as a part of this collective mass. So I think for a lot of people, it's their first time that they ever had their eyeball captured that close. And so it's I hate to say this phrase, but I don't. It's truly an eye-opening experience.
It is. And it's just wonderful to wait in moments to see your iris, your eyeball featured among the many there is a wonderful experience. Moving on, this one, I have to say, was extremely popular with the people I was with and those who I were watching, sort of like an opportunity, which again, the image doesn't give you this sense of sort of being this DJ controlling this music presentation, terrific sound and opportunity, and again, was very popular with the people I got to see experience it. Glorious Visions of a Rainbow by, I believe, Andy Arkley.
Correct. I mean, so this is like you're saying, this is a multi-sensory experience. So it's not just things you can touch, but also things you can hear. So this allows the guests to sort of be a musician for a moment at a time, in which each of the 16 buttons projection maps image on these wooden sculptures. So these are also like the things in this picture are actually wooden sculptures by the artist. And so again, it's like this interactive moment where people can step into the art piece. Again, different than typical museums when you can't touch things, you can't be loud, you can't have music. So I think that's why overall we're really trying to challenge and present a 21st century view of the museum experience.
Definitely, definitely. And as you referred to the internationally acclaimed Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama, who's featured with Let's Survive Forever, a few words about this incredible installation.
Yeah, I mean, it's this installation, Let's Survive Forever, is considered to be one of Yayoi Kusama's masterpieces. We're home to one of the first three iterations, in which she created in 2017 at the age of 88. And I think right now she's like 95. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a crazy experience. The one thing that's great about the exhibit in Boston is that as you come around the corner to see this installation, one, it's behind the wall, so you really don't know what's behind this wall. You also can interact with the timeline and learn more about her and the artwork. And then you step into this door, and then the door closes behind you, and you have a minute of time in this installation room, affinity room. And I think, a lot of people ask us, like, why do you only have a minute? This is so crazy. What's up with these rules? Why do I only get a minute inside the space? And that's actually because the artist who requests that, she wants you to realize that time is a finite thing. And so she puts you in these affinity rooms in which it feels like forever, hence the name, Let's Survive Forever. But you're also only allowed a minute within the installation, which is intentional because in a way, and you experience this, Jay, this type of experience that stays with you for a lifetime. You'll remember kind of stepping into that space. So it's a very intentional art piece that has a lot of depth to it. Again, like I was saying earlier, and also is just a very popular one, of course, because when her pieces really became really popular in the 19 or in the 2010s. I mean, people were waiting in line for like hours to step inside of there for a minute. So this was previously on display in Chicago, but it's not the first time that Kusama has been presented in Boston, but it's the first time that it's been up for a long period of time. So, ISCA Boston had a Kusama up for a little bit in 2022, but like many art museums, those installations go away. That's what makes us different is that you can kind of come back and revisit it. And we want people to, right? We want people to kind of like you, Jay, to come through this experience, to come back, to think about and interact with new installations, maybe step inside because I'm once again, but maybe your frame of mind is completely different.
Right, right, most definitely. And I think research shows that most people just spend less than 30 seconds on a work of art. So when you're given the minute, I think it heightened my sense of observation and wanting to take it all in, which in reality could be more than I do at a painting, say in the MFA at times.
It's true. It's true.
So it's kind of nice. First, I wasn't sure, but it was nice to have that focus. And as you say, opportunity to come back. Well, we want to move on and fit in a few more. Um, Connected to that installation is this, again, unique experience at a museum, the obliteration room, a word what visitors can look forward to, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a way that our guests can actually partake in the art to leave their mark. So the guests are given these stickers and allowed to sort of cover up the walls and the objects that are there and the staircase that's coming down. And the thing that is so magical about this space is that these stickers are like little round circles, but you will see people there like tearing off little sections, spelling words, making new shapes, making their own sort of like stickers out of it too. So I think that's also what makes this piece so special is that now it's not only just like people leave their mark, but people can be artists in their own right and think about how they adapt the materials that they're given to then create their own new perspectives on the piece. So inspired by Kusama, it's our homage to her, and it's really popular too because I think this is also coming out of the Let's Survive Forever. So it allows you to sort of like be present, but then also to participate.
A wonderful opportunity. This again just shows the range of experiences. Speak up. A couple words about this, please.
Yeah, so Speak Up is our way of just sort of challenging people to sort of use their voice. There's lots of stuff going on in the world right now. And so what happens is that when people pick up these phones, I think there's like 36 of them. Each phone has a different speaker on it. So like you really could spend a long time here just like picking up every phone and you start to realize that like, oh, this is actually a very impactful exhibit. Because again, you start looking at it and you're like, oh, it's a wall of phones. And like, Jay, I mean, we know what those phones are, but there's some of these kids out there don't realize that those are like how everyone used to use those phones back in the day. So like for me, it's also in a way a little bit of a touch of nostalgia. I think that sometimes people capture memories there and like pose with the phones. But again, there's actually this like deeper meaning, which is using your voice, standing up for what you believe in, and speaking up. So it's sort of our way to encourage people to not be silent for things they believe in.
Yeah, no, wonderful opportunity to listen in on people like Nelson Mandela and many, many more. Moving on, another opportunity
Mm.
to participate with the Wisdom Project.
Yeah, so this is a piece called the Wisdom Project that came from us. And the goal of it, right, is we ask a question to everyone who encounters it, what do you know? Right? And it's supposed to be meant a place to share wisdom. But a lot of times people are just leaving their mark. They're writing their Instagram name, they're leaving messages, writing I love you, they're writing happy birthdays, they're thinking about loved ones who maybe aren't there anymore. So I think for them, it's a way for people to feel like they're a part of our experience. And again, like unless it's a room at the outside of an exhibit that people are like processing or leaving their mark, not a lot of museums allow you to sort of like have a blank canvas and to share your thoughts. And I think the thing that's really magical about this space too is that again, sometimes people are there for 20, 30 minutes at the table,
Yeah.
drawing multiple cartoons, having these like people who are like illustrators or drawers are doing these beautiful doodles. And I think the thing that's so magical about this too is that like when people get done, they put their mark on top of this space, and so it layers in a way that your a piece of you is always there. It's always kind of on view at the Wonder Museum. So.
Terrific, terrific. Chris, in the 2 minutes that we have left, I'm going to scroll through some of the images and let viewers see some opportunities, not hear about them, but like you in closing, to share with visitors, viewers, what they should think about before entering to get the most out of the experience when they make their way to Wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we think about what we want our guests to take away from our experience, one, we hope that the Wonder experience unites imagination because we believe in the power of creativity to spark joy and wonder in every guest. Each experience invites you to explore, dream, and play. We think about Wonder as a playground for the mind, right? We transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, offering a hands-on experience that brings joy through imaginative discovery for all ages. And I think that's something that's really special is that you can be 4, you can be 44, you can be 74. We promise you that there's probably something that you're going to love and take away from the Wonder experience. We want people to, we exist to inspire, create, and celebrate. So we're more than just a collection of installations. We're a celebration of creative joy, a place to inspire and be inspired, encouraging every guest to leave with a renewed sense of wonder. We also, at Wonder really focus on creativity, connection, and joy. So at Wonder, creativity is a catalyst for joyful connection. Our experiences are designed to engage and inspire and bring people together through the shared moments of wonder. And the last thing that we're all about is that the power of wonder connects us. Wonder connects us to the world, to each other. So at Wonder, we celebrate shared moments of awe that inspire deeper connections between people and ideas. And so that's something that is also top of mind. It's like when you come to Wonder, don't just pay attention to the installations, but look around you and see who you're with and realize that like we all share, no matter who we are, Jay, Jalen, no matter who it is, all shares this transformative power of wonder.
Fabulous. And I just have to put in a quick word of how helpful the staff were who are throughout the museum to guide you through the different installations, to give you some tips, heads up on what to experience and how to best get the most out of it. But Chris, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. There's so much more. You've provided a fabulous overview for the museum. Definitely encourage people to make their way to downtown Boston. I look forward to going back sometime soon, and continued success. We'll look forward to all the upcoming experiences and opportunities at Wonder Boston.
Yeah, thank you for having me today, Jay. I'm glad you love it, and we can't wait to welcome all these other guests.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.